Picture a dinner table. Friends are gathered. The room is bathed in this warm amber light, and someone is sharing news. Glasses are raised, the ambient noise of conversation is buzzing. Everyone's smiling. But if you look closely at just one face, the eyes, just for a fraction of a second, tell a completely different story. All right, welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're stripping away the social performance to examine the psychology of something we literally all experience but fiercely deny.
You know the feeling. You're scrolling your feed and boom, a colleague gets bumped up to that promotion.
Next post, an old friend from college drops the engagement ring pic.
Swipe again. A perfect smile, another flawless vacation, another peak experience, just glowing at you through the glass of your phone.
Let's be completely, brutally honest here. There is an emotion you have felt, and you've probably never fully admitted to feeling it. Not to anyone else, and honestly, barely to yourself. It arrives totally uninvited. Someone tells you their good news, and something shifts inside you that makes you feel in the raw privacy of your own head like a person you really do not want to be. It is the absolute most socially forbidden emotion in the human catalog, envy.
Think about it. Anger can be justified, right? Fear is perfectly acceptable. But to admit envy, that's admitting that someone else's good fortune actually diminishes you. And because of that immense shame, it disguises itself. It has extraordinary skill at hiding behind four distinct masks. First, criticism. You suddenly spot the flaws in someone's success. Second, indifference. That performative, oh, I don't even care about that. Third is contempt, just an aggressive superiority. And sometimes it's depression, a heavy, gray weight that just settles over you after hearing certain news, completely untraceable to its real source. The emotion is there, it just completely refuses to use its real name. Okay, let's dive into this. Let's step out of that warm amber light and the noise of that crowded room and look at the actual quiet mechanics of this feeling, the anatomy of envy.
To really understand it, we actually have to separate it from its cousin. People mix these up all the time. Jealousy is the fear of losing something you already have. A relationship, your status, it's protective. Envy is entirely different. Envy is the pain of another person's advantage. You don't need a threat, and you don't even need to have anything to lose. It just requires that someone else has something you want, and them having it makes your not having it feel like a totally brutal verdict.
The French philosopher René Girard spent decades studying this exact thing and gave us this brilliant, kind of unsettling concept, mimetic desire. Girard proposed that our desires are fundamentally contagious. We actually do not know what we want until we see someone else wanting it. We literally copy our desires from each other. And this brilliantly illustrates why it hurts so much. When we realize we value what others value, someone getting what you secretly wanted isn't really about the object itself or the job, it's about identity. Someone has basically confirmed a possibility that you had privately claimed as your own, and they did it first. Your own claim suddenly feels a lot less legitimate.
Now, this brings us to a cold, hard rule of human geometry, the proximity principle. The closer the person, the sharper the envy. Think about how perfectly this maps our pain. If you compare a subsistence farmer to a billionaire, the emotional impact is basically zero. It's irrelevant. The distance is just too vast. But a sibling? A colleague sitting 2 desks away? A friend from the exact same university? That immediate proximity makes the comparison absolutely unbearable. Their achievement exists in the exact same category you designated for yourself. This is exactly why families and friend groups produce some of the most savage envies in human experience. When they succeed, the implicit logic of comparability basically forces you to ask this deeply uncomfortable question: why them and not me?
Let's move forward and see how this builds into the environment we navigate today. Because while this vulnerability is as old as humanity itself, the scale we experience it at, that is entirely new. We are currently living inside the social architecture of envy.
And look, this isn't a modern invention. It's in antiquity, it's in Aristotle's Politics. Dante even imagined the envious with their eyes sewn shut with iron wire in purgatory. But in the 21st century, the modern world has built platforms specifically engineered to profit from comparison. It is a deliberate, daily envy engine.
100. That is the number of people in a traditional human tribe. Our psychological immune system was built to assess our social standing in a group of about 100 people. It was absolutely not built to process thousands of highly curated, perfectly filtered highlight reels every single day. No human nervous system can handle that dosage without losing its way. So, let's step away from that noise.
Imagine the color draining out of all those flashy feeds, fading into a quiet, muted gray. It's just you, alone, in a quiet room, sitting with this really uncomfortable feeling. What is it actually trying to say?
The philosopher Alain de Botton points out something incredibly profound here. He says that while envy is a terrible guide to other people's lives, it is a remarkably accurate guide to our own. The things that quietly devastate us, the successes of others we just can't seem to dismiss, they are pointing directly at what we actually value.
So the crucial point is this. Envy is information. It is literally a map. It's showing you something you genuinely want, but perhaps haven't allowed yourself to consciously want just because wanting it feels way too dangerous or too exposed.
The ancient Greeks understood this perfectly, and they made a brilliant distinction that we've almost entirely lost today. They separated envy from emulation. Now, the initial sting is exactly the same for both, but the divergence is profound. Envy corrodes, it resents the person and closes you off. Emulation, on the other hand, constructs. It learns from the model and opens you up to what is actually possible.
And this is where the magic happens. The alchemy of emulation. It is the brave, difficult act of shifting your attention completely away from measuring yourself against others and pointing it firmly inward.
When we're stuck in envy, we ask this defensive, exhausting question, why do they have what I don't? And this question consumes all your energy in resentment and conveniently leaves the problem completely outside of yourself.
But emulation asks something else. What would I need to become to build what I want? I want you to just sit with that for a second. That is the question that opens doors. That is the question that takes the bitter energy of resentment and turns it into forward, constructive momentum.
To sit with the discomfort of someone else's success and not convert it into contempt takes immense courage. But if you can do it, you realize something pretty profound. The person you envy most fiercely is not your competition. They are a mirror. They are reflecting the desire you haven't claimed and the version of yourself you have been too defended to reach for. That reflection isn't a wound. It is a direction.
Which leaves us right here, in the quiet, with one final thought. The map has been handed to you. The mirror is right in front of you. Are you willing to look honestly enough to see what it is actually showing?